Good evening, everybody. My name is Akshis Balsara. Welcome to this session on Microsoft Power BI. And today's session, I'm gonna take you through essentially what is Power BI, what are the benefits of Power BI, what is the relevance of Power BI in today's industries, how do we deliver, how do we securely collaborate, and what are the delivery scenarios that Power BI can be used to leverage. And we'll also talk later on about some real life scenarios. Now, these are publicly available case studies on the Microsoft portal. I've just highlighted a few that to show you exactly how Power BI works. So let's get into it. Microsoft Power BI basically is, in simple terms, a business analytics service. Now, when I say service means that it's a cloud deployed service. That means we don't have to deploy this in-house. It's already deployed, ready for you. It's been around for quite some time now, and it gives you the ability to have a 360-degree view of your business. The ability also to collaborate within the organization with that data to pull raw data for analysis from any of your existing line of business applications, and to have an output out here, as you see in this image, in a more visual approach, as you also saw in the video earlier. Now, what are some of the key benefits and differentiators of Power BI? So one is because Power BI allows you to connect to multiple sources. It also allows you has built-in content packs. Okay, now some of these people content packs have been designed for the solutions that it connects with. Like for example, if you're talking about content pack like Zendesk, Salesforce. Okay, there are already pre-built connectors available. There are hundreds of connectors now available for different solutions, and you also have some pre-built dashboards and all available to you as well. These dashboards can be updated in real time. So depending on how your frequency for updates has been designed, those dashboards can be updated in real time, or they can be updated hourly, daily, or weekly, depending on organization needs. And as you saw in the video also, that the entire service is secured. Okay, it's compliant with GDPR. So you can be rest assured that no matter which way you connect, whether it's an on-prem service or it's a cloud-based service, that connection is 100% secure and you're not going to be compromised. The most important thing that we have out here is something called as natural language query. So what happens here is that when a person tries to query that particular data that's available to them, natural language query allows for a user to type in a query as if you're communicating directly, like how you do just now with your local AI, with the new AIs that have come out. So exactly what happens in Power BI, but except those queries would be pertaining to the data that you're pulling out. The advantage is that you do not need to know any programming language. You do not need to know any programming syntax for you to initiate those queries. And because it's part of the entire Microsoft ecosystem, we have integration with the Microsoft stack of products like your Office 365 services. You can connect with Excel. There is also an extensive service available inside Microsoft Azure that can back up Power BI services in the form of Data Lake or Synapses. And finally, because this is a SaaS-based service, it means all you have to do is provision your account and the service is ready for you to go within minutes. Nothing to deploy in-house, nothing to set up except for the connectors from the service to those apps where you want to pull in data for deeper analysis. Now, Power BI BI as a tool within organizations has gone through quite an extensive churn over the years. We've had the first wave of Power BI, which we used to call as technical BI. Because the CRMs of the earlier days was quite rudimentary, even to provide custom dashboards and all required an extensive amount of coding. So which is why the usage was limited to IT users only. They are the ones who would be actually going ahead with developers and creating custom dashboards, and that's how Power BI that's how BI in the sense would be used back then. The second wave of BI allowed for an analyst to actually start using BI as a service. Okay, so as the complexities grew, as the tools also started becoming more and more sophisticated, we had ways where it was only the analysts who would be building up those particular dashboards to the end users. We are now what's called as the third wave of BI. When you call this third wave of BI means anybody can go ahead and create their own dashboards. Anybody can go ahead and create their own reports. We don't, I mean, we they don't necessarily need analysts or for that matter IT end users to actually go ahead and start that process. Now, with the new generation of Power BI, some of the challenges that people face in today's environment is that because data resides in different locations in different disparate systems, so it makes it difficult for management to get a complete view of how the business is running, right? Because as you're aware, today businesses are work across multiple locations. Okay. Each of those locations and each of those departments would have their own particular backend service that would make it difficult to access and refresh securely. And all of this would ensure that the management would not get the right data at the right time. So the right decisions that need to be taken for the business to go forward, for the business to go faster, those would be delayed. This just gives you a little bit of a pictorial view. Your data sources in here, we see SaaS-based solutions like Dynamics, Salesforce, etc. We have on-prem solutions also that any on-prem solution like an Oracle database or SQL database, we can pull out data from there as well. We use content packs to manipulate that data, to showcase that data. We use Azure services to then run analysis on that data, okay, in the backend. And then we have our outputs in our Excel files. Okay, this is the whole set of services available for Power BI. And of course, as you saw in the video earlier, view can be either in your desktop client, it can be on mobile app, it can be on a tablet out here as well. So what is the relevance of Power BI in today's industry? So for the business user, we see that Power BI basically gives them the ability to make the right decisions at the right times. You can directly import data that's been set up in the backend by your IT team. Work with dashboards and reports by yourself. For the analysts, they go into complex reshaping and integrating of the model and modeling data. They create their own reports and the content packs that basically share insights within a department or team, or for that matter, the entire organization. For the IT professional, Power BI, because it's such a dynamic tool that it allows for connections to be made to multiple sources. So all they have to do is establish those connections. Okay. And at the end of it, you can empower your business users to go ahead and create their own reports. And finally, for the developer, what happens is that you can go ahead and integrate your line of business applications with Power BI. So all your outputs, in case you don't want to use the Power BI native apps itself to view your reports, you want to view this directly within your line of business applications, you can go ahead and do so. So that's where the developer comes in. And most importantly, they also allow you to create, Power BI also allows you to create custom visuals. Now we come to the second part of our presentation, that is on the different forms of content collaboration and delivery scenarios that we have that Power BI can offer. Okay. So now these are interrelated and they basically build upon each other. So basically, in a way that aligns with how business intelligence teams evolves and grows over time. So let's have a look. See. So the first is personal BI. Then we come to team BI, departmental, and enterprise level BI. Now, if you remember when we spoke about the generational levels of BI, we said that we are in a third stage of Power BI, right? So third stage of Power BI means third generation of Power BI means that an individual user themselves can go ahead and directly create the reports and services. So how that would work is we use the Power BI desktop tool where we can run our queries, we can create our data models and reports. That pulls in the data from your sources. They can be either on-prem or cloud-based sources. Okay. We publish that data out in our personal workspaces, can be in our own personal dashboards, and can be in our workbooks like Excel. We can assign sensitivity labels, print, export, or create our alerts from there. We view all that output either through the mobile app or through obviously on the power. If you're sitting on our desktop or laptops, you're sitting, we can use the Power BI desktop tool itself. Or if you're anywhere else, you can also use this in the browser. Now, if you're pulling in data from our on-premise services, we have what is called as a gateway server. Okay. And we can define our schedule refreshes for this as to how soon data has to be pulled in. Now, remember, because Power BI is pulling in data from our databases, we need to factor in that load when we are designing our systems as well. Okay. All of that will be monitored by your IT team out here. Now, as I said earlier, each of these models builds on the previous one. So if we look at now we from personal BI, we are going to team BI. Now, if you look at this, the difference from personal to team is that we are publishing all this, all our outputs in a content and collaboration tool. In this case, we are talking about Microsoft Teams. Okay, now as you know, in Microsoft Teams, when you create a team and you create channels, you can create special tabs inside that, and in those tabs you can load content. You can load apps and you can load content. So one of those apps obviously is Power BI, and you can load your dashboards and all directly from the BI service into your Teams app. So the advantage is that you don't have to load a separate app. Okay, the same can be viewed also from your mobile app. And in this case, you're bringing in you're bringing in extra collaboration where people can actually go ahead and do deeper analysis using Excel. Okay, and everybody gets a view within that particular team. Building on this even further, we see that now we are in the departmental BI stage, we are publishing this to a whole set of users who are part of a department. Now, these users can be in a single location, can be multiple locations, but that department is using a single line of business application tool. Now, this tool we are looking at here, if you see this stage out here, we are publishing our reports inside that particular tool. Okay. And finally, when we talk about enterprise level BI, enterprise level BI goes ahead and talks about how we can publish this entire service for the entire organization to use. Okay. And because we are talking about an enterprise level scale, we are definitely talking about using premium capacity out here. Right. Now, the last part of this presentation, we are going to be looking at real world scenarios where Power BI has been implemented, what has been done, and based on our experiences, we've seen that these are the common challenges that exist with customers. Right, we have organizations with multiple entities, different divisions in different regions, and each division generally would run their own separate P&L. They would have their own separate management dashboards. So for the management team, the problem would be that they would not have a single collated view of all the locations. Compliance and KPI monitoring would be an issue, and the inability to take the right decisions at the right time. So let's look at the first scenario. That's with RBL Bank. In addition to the other challenges that we saw earlier, RBL Bank basically was using a technology called as Enterprise Data Warehouse, which was a highly memory-intensive database service that they were using. And the problem was that as the business was growing, that service was not able to keep up with the demand of ensuring that the reports and all were generated properly before business hours. So the problem that users would face was that many of them would not receive the reports on time, and by not receiving the reports on time, the value of those reports would be negated. So any data that they wanted to crunch from prior to the prior day's business or before, they would not have that output. So obviously decisions would be delayed, customers would be lost in the process, and overall it was negatively impacting the business. So what they decided to do was go ahead and use a combination of Azure services like Data Factory, Data Lake Storages, Databricks, Synapses, and Enterprise Power BI for going in for complete, as we saw earlier, enterprise level BI services. And the biggest breakthrough that they got was a 600% jump in transaction growth on processing. So which means that every user got their data, got their reports before business hours, and they were able to take faster decisions and ensure the customer retention, customer satisfaction was kept on priority. The other Indian large customer that's using Power BI is Lenskart out here. Now, Lenskart, as you know, is an e-commerce plus a retail business. And even on the retail side, they operate more than 1,000 stores inside India and Southeast Asia. So they wanted to integrate all of their internal services and have a single dashboard view as to the outcome what was happening. Okay, they want because they were like I said, they were a retail and e-commerce store. They wanted to have a complete view of what was happening at the e-commerce side. They wanted to also have a complete view of their entire supply chain management, merchandising division as well, because they would be selling prescription-based glasses, and because they were also a retail division, they needed to have an HR integration as well. They need to have a view. So what was done for this? They would their data sources they take from your point of sale terminals, their CRM solutions, store data in terms of the footfall, people coming in, how many of those people were buying stuff, how many of those people were just browsing, and their plan for the entire manufacturing, the logistics when it came to delivery with the ERP, and then the online store presence, and finally, social media. Now they had built the entire data lake services on Amazon S3. But as we've said all this while, Power BI picks up data from any source. So while the data lake services were in S3, Power BI can still integrate and pull out the information for their business users. And finally, here we are. This third scenario that we're looking at is for AI assets. AI assets is basically it's a joint venture between Air India and SATS, which is basically an HR outsourcing firm. Their primary business is outsourcing of the manpower required at airports. So if you see people down on the runways who are working on the aircraft, who are loading your baggages and those kind of people, they are outsourced employees for the airlines. Okay, so the business of SATS is those people itself. So the challenges there, what they faced for their entire business being on HR. So this was the challenges that they faced. Okay, scaling up because you have many types of employees out there. You have full time, you have contract, you have temporary. How do you go about managing all of that? How do you go about making sure that the compliances are met? Because as you know, working at an airport, you are required to airport employees are required to undergo extensive police verification. So what was done was that they had the HR service called a Zing HR. Okay, and this Zing HR was integrated into not only Power BI but also another tool called as Power Apps, which is part of the entire Power Platform ecosystem of Microsoft 365, where Power BI actually comes from. All right. So what were the benefits that was that they could create custom apps for even things like attendance and for uploading relevant data. That would go also into their custom line of business applications. That's the cargo system out here. They would use a combination of SAP and Data Lake, and obviously this Zing HR for the HRMS tool. And they would provide employees access to operations data and other permits and everything. So when they had to obviously enter and they would get their permits, whether that was done or not done, or whether they cleared it. So things like that. But what they also got out of this for the Power BI side was that all these challenges that they had to meet, okay, they would get a complete view in terms of seeing where the users were, where their employees were. They would see whether there was a shortfall required or not. They had a complete view of their people, okay, because the entire business was the people. So how their people worked at different airport terminals and all, they get a complete view of that, and they were able to take decisions. In summary, as you've seen in all these slides, a Power BI is a cloud-based business analytics service delivering end-user business intelligence. We get a number of benefits like pre-built content packs, real-time dashboard updates, live connections to on-prem and cloud data sources, data exploration using natural query language, uh, integration with Microsoft products and services, and fast deployment because, as you said, it's a SaaS-based service coming from Microsoft 365. And for the Gartner quadrant, Microsoft is placed furthest in the vision quadrant in the BI analytics leaders. This is just a slide that gives you a view of what are the services that are available as part of Power BI. So as we've been talking about, where you can author your reports and you can run your analysis is from the free desktop app. But the services that you're going to run in the background are this Power BI service, which is available again from Microsoft 365, or Power BI Premium service, which is a dedicated service that's available for the enterprise level. You also have the reporting service that can be used for data that has to be picked up from your on-prem services. And your developers can use the embedded services to go ahead and integrate your Power BI reports and dashboards within your line of business applications. Okay, these are some of the resources that are the links that I'm going to be sharing with you as part of this deck. Okay, go through those who are actually interested, those who are really interested in understanding how Power BI as a service is developing. Go to the blog's website. Okay, there's a lot of information that keeps coming up. Thank you so much, everybody, for taking the time out to attend this session. I hope it was informative.